This is Chris Green, the Executive Director of the Animal Legal Defense Fund.
And this is Megan Senatori, the newly named Executive Director of the Center for Animal Law Studies at Lewis and Clark Law School.
Yay! So thank you, all of you, for joining us for this 33rd annual event. We'd like to, before we kick off things, thank our panelists today. And for tomorrow, we had just fantastic presentations. Thank you so much for sharing your time and expertise. But also,
excellent moderators as well, by the way.
Yes, exactly. Also to thank the Planning Committee, which put so much work into this event. And also to thank everybody here at the Sheraton, everybody who is preparing our food, serving our food, doing the excellent AV work. Thank you to everybody.
And in addition to thanking you all for attending, it's just so great to see a room full of so many like-minded, kindred spirits and just so much energy and passion. It really is invigorating and brings a lot of joy. I really want to personally thank ALDF's events team for doing such a wonderful job. Anne-Marie, Megan, and Jody, and Glenn, our mascot. Thank you so much for making this such a smooth event and that we don't even have to think about any of the back-end stuff. So thank you.
And I think we are going to transition now to our Pro Bono Awards.
Okay, and first I'd like to say at our table we've got Brooke and Amy Dubman, so thank you so much for your support in Carroll House Furniture. You've been such a supporter of this conference and means the world to us.
And Carroll House is both a presenting sponsor and the sponsor of tonight's banquet dinner, so thank you so much for that. Can you introduce Tom?
Yes, and so coming up next we have our awards, and I'm introducing one Thomas Linney, who is the director of our Pro Bono program at the Animal Legal Defense Fund. Give it up for Tom.
Yay, Tom!
And prepare to laugh.
Okay, well, thanks, Chris and Megan. Good evening, everyone. We're so grateful that you're here with us tonight. Hope you're enjoying the evening so far. And a big hello to everyone who's watching online right now. I hope that includes my cats, who are attentively following along like this. But knowing them, they're more likely focused on higher priority things like laying in the sink or watching the Nature Channel. Or cuddling, sleeping, more cuddling, and occasionally sleeping on a child's head. Okay, so we've had some great presentations and discussions thus far at the conference. We've learned more about the many injustices facing animals, but also given hope by the efforts to address them. And speaking of hope, now's the fun part of the evening, or at least I think it's the fun part, where we honor the amazing legal professionals and law firms who are helping us in our fight to protect animals through the legal system by awarding them with our 2025 Pro Bono Awards. Tonight's honorees are some of the many volunteers who worked diligently this past year on behalf of animals and help contribute to the more than 2,800 hours donated to our groundbreaking work, which translated to more than $2.7 million in legal services. And after talking to my cat about this, she helped me realize that that's about 14,000 in cat hours and more than 19,000 in dog hours. So there you go. Amongst a variety of other work, our honorees have played a critical role in our lawsuit against immoral and deceitful puppy traffickers who knowingly sold sick dogs and supported us in our fight against a wildlife park that's violated the Animal Welfare Act on numerous occasions, including separating cubs prematurely from their mothers, and our lawsuit against a kitten breeder and seller for practicing veterinary medicine without a license, animal cruelty and neglect, and contract and tort claims, And our volunteers have also helped our organization directly with guidance on tax law, trusts, contracts, and more. So as a reminder, don't think you necessarily have to practice animal law to be able to help animals and the many organizations who advocate for them. Our honorees tonight include local Chicagoans, as well as others who were kind enough to travel here from Missouri, Indiana, and as far away as California. With that, we'd like to invite our award winners to come up as we call your name to receive your award. Our first honoree has assisted us with our ongoing efforts against a network of individuals and businesses who conspired with pet stores to sell puppy mill dogs mislabeled as rescues, as well as privacy, contract law, and other in-house legal guidance. Let's give a warm round of applause for Marilyn Rosen of Denton's. All right, come on up.
Thank you very much. I want to say thank you to everyone in this room. As far as I know, they haven't let any animals actually go to law school yet, so it's really important that you are all here to do that. I have also, besides doing pro bono work, been fostering cats that just started showing up at my house during the pandemic. So if Tom's cats inspired you, I've got 2 adorable tuxedo kittens ready for adoption. Just find me after. So thank you all. Thank you for all of your work. And let's keep at it because the animals really need the help that they can get.
Okay. Thank you, Marilyn. Fun fact, too, that Marilyn was also, she received a pro bono award from ALDF several years ago for her work helping us win a FOIA complaint against an animal control office over records relating to the treatment of the animals in their care. So, Marilyn, thanks for being a longtime supporter of the Animal Legal Defense Fund. So we didn't plan this, but right before the pandemic, as Marilyn said, she had a gray cat who's pictured on here, who started showing up at her house. She started putting food out and ultimately rescued her and her 4 kittens. She thought that would be the extent of it, but many of us have experienced, she got the sense that the cats started telling one another, hey, this is a safe place to go. And so, as she said, it's over the last 5 years, she's ended up rescuing 50 cats and kittens and helped them get adopted through a local rescue. And obviously, these are some of the cute faces, and the 2 tuxedo cats are there up for adoption. And I know the merchandise at this conference is awesome, but if you came home with 2 kittens, could you imagine the swag from this conference? All right. Okay, our second honoree has been an incredible ally for us, helping us with in-house legal matters and policies, and with a proposed ordinance regarding concentrated animal feeding operations, a ballot initiative. It's our honor to give this award to Josh Trosch of Alston and Bird.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you to the ALDF. Thank you so much for this tremendous honor. I know I speak on behalf of our pro bono teams and the entire firm when I say how grateful we are both for this recognition and for the continued opportunity to advance animal rights through legal advocacy. So thank you so much for your continued trust, and we look forward to many more years of making a difference. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Josh. Our third law firm recipient has helped us with projects involving tax law and law enforcement shooting of dogs. It's our pleasure to give this award to Amy Zywecki of Jones Day.
Thank you. I wrote down my remarks because I will forget them. So I just want to say that Jones Day is deeply honored and humbled to receive this award. This recognition belongs to those at Jones Day who are part of our Animal Welfare Task Force, which is a group of truly dedicated individuals who strive to turn ideas into action. When we began this work, we were driven by a single powerful belief that our legal system should reflect our deepest values of compassion and justice for all living things. I'm grateful for the many animal welfare advocates who are in this room who inspire us every day with their tireless work. Many of you have fought for decades in this space to give a voice to the voiceless. This award reminds us that while a lot of work has been done, we have a lot more work to do in this space, and Jones Day really hopes to get more involved in this to bring more impactful and systematic change for animals. Again, truly honored to receive this award on behalf of Jones Day and every animal welfare advocate in this room. So thank you to ALDF for this incredible honor and our partnership together. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. And what a beautiful moment that we're in this movement to have such incredible law firms helping us year to year on the cases that we do, and also with some of their animal protection organizations. So pictured here is Winnie. This is Amy and her husband Mark's dog, who just passed away in February, but Winnie was diagnosed with degenerative myopathy 2 years ago. At that time, she was only given 6 months to live. So her and Matt researched ways to slow the progression and add to quality of life, including achieving a bucket list that any dog could hope for. And Winnie had not one, but 2 custom wheelchairs built for her, as you saw here. The first wheelchair had 2 wheels, and then later, as she grew weaker, had 4 wheels. Amy said this, forced them to think deeply about what it truly means to love unconditionally, and that life has value and purpose, even in sickness. Amy shared that she and her husband learned to see and experience life through the simplicity of Winnie's eyes. She found everyday joy in small things, a walk in her wheelchair and later her wagon, a treat, seeing her many dog and human friends, watching the sun rise or set, playing in a pile of leaves, as you see here, catching the endless scents when the wind would blow, eating snow, getting a belly rub, eating ice cream, listening to Ella Fitzgerald, and watching Hallmark Christmas movies, and throwing in a snuggle here and there, too. Winnie reminded them that sometimes the simplest moments can mean the most, and her resilience and will to live was and will forever be an inspiration. And I also want to extend an extra special thank you to you, Amy, for being here. Sadly, she's been very extra busy. She manages pro bono work at the firm, but the last few months she's been caring for her dad, who has stage 4 gastric cancer. So I know I speak for all of us when I say that it just means so much that you're here with us, and we wish the best for your dad moving forward. So thank you for being here. Many people are unaware that each year that ALDF receives hundreds of requests for legal assistance from members of the public and other animal protection organizations, and that our organization tries to secure pro bono support for these matters, whether it's Animal Sanctuary trying to set up their 501c3, a shelter needing adoption contract guidance, a victim of domestic abuse trying to secure custody of their companion animal, or a tenant facing eviction due to breed discrimination. We work behind the scenes to find representation, work with our generous and enormous pro bono network, and improve access to justice. And our pro bono network members contribute hundreds of hours to these important matters. In honor of these efforts, we'd like to give out our 2025 Compassionate Council Awards. This award recognizes Pro Bono Network members who are exemplary advocates and give selflessly of their time and immense talent to provide legal assistance to animal protection organizations, advocates, and community members impacted by animal law issues. Our first honoree tonight is Joseph DeVault. In the last year, he took on 6 different legal assistance requests involving dangerous dog designations, dog bite matters, and more. To boot, he's a former SALDEF, he's an ALDF student chapter member and an Advancement in Animal Law Scholarship winner. So I think he's just trying to show off now by getting another award. But anyways, let's hear it for Joseph.
I just want to say thank you. It's such an incredible honor to be receiving an award like this from an organization like this. It's surreal to be getting an award for compassion when surrounded by some of the most compassionate people in the world. So I'd like to just take a minute to talk about the Pro Bono Network and how important it is. It's been said a lot, I think, that 80% of success is showing up. I think the Pro Bono Network is a good representation of that. Most of the cases I was able to take were solved after maybe an hour, a simple phone call, walking through the municipal code with the person, and they just couldn't afford that help. They had no other access to getting help, so ALDF is having this network is such a vital resource for them. And the cases I was able to actually take, again, 80% of the success was just showing up. I remember I showed up at a municipal trial, and I talked to the prosecutor on a case. There was a dog wrongly accused of a bite. When I talked to the prosecutor, he eventually agreed to drop the charges. It wasn't a big issue. It wasn't that hard of work, but I remember one thing that stuck with me. The prosecutor was just confused that I was there. He said, "Why did you come from St. Louis all the way here for this case?" And it just shows how a little bit of compassion goes a long way, makes a big difference. And for all of the attorneys and future attorneys in the room, I would strongly advocate to join the network. It is the best way to help people and help animals. You're not gonna, or at least I haven't gotten the Supreme Court level cases yet, but it is what I wanted to do when I went to law school, is help people and help animals, and the Pro Bono Network gave me the opportunity to do that. All right, thank you.
Awesome. Okay, thank you, Joseph. So Joseph has 2 cats, Captain and Ruby, and 2 rats, Twig and Tara. He said that even though the cats really want to meet and hang out with the rats, he's going to hold the line on that because he's not sure how that's going to work out. But and as Joseph, can tell you more later, he had a meaningful experience with a group of cows known as the St. Louis Six, who had escaped from a slaughterhouse in St. Louis in 2017. He volunteered at the sanctuary, another great thing that we encourage all of you to do. And he formed a deep bond with them, especially Chico and Johnny Cash. So there they are. Okay, our second honoree tonight is Cheryl Ruggiero. In the last year, Cheryl accepted 5 legal assistance requests involving matters such as vet malpractice, a dangerous dog designation, a dog who died at a boarding facility, and she's also offered GC support, general counsel support, for another animal nonprofit organization. On top of that, Cheryl has provided ALDF with support on contract review, drafting, and analysis. And to show she's a triple threat, Cheryl and her husband, Damiano, even ran a nonprofit for about 12 years, helping financially challenged pet guardians access veterinary care and food for their beloved companion animals. So let's give a big round of applause to Cheryl.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I could not imagine a more meaningful award. And I thank the ALDF, the founders, supporters, operators, as well as my husband, without whom I could not do this kind of work. And I want to tell all of the young new lawyers out there to take on these cases and don't be afraid. Call one of us older folk lawyers for mentorship or help, and don't be afraid to file that case. I've never filed so many writs in my life until I started doing animal law, and I think I'm getting pretty good at it. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Cheryl. So, in our eyes, speaking of triple threats, Cheryl's right up there with other triple threats like Rita Moreno, Janelle Monáe, Lady Gaga, Jamie Foxx, Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers, Donald Glover. It's a good list. But maybe not so much like other talented triple threats. In these roles here, Justin Timberlake and Ryan Gosling, not their best work, but anyways, all right. So Cheryl and her husband Damiano currently have 2 dogs, but their last 5 dogs have all had Italian or Italianized names. You can see their names on the screen here. I think my favorites might be Giorgio Fusilli, Frido Fettuccini, and maybe Morfino Bambino, but it's hard to choose. And I know you're not asking for suggestions, Cheryl, on future names, but maybe if you get a retriever, you could do Fettuccini. Or Spaghetti? No? All right. I'll keep working on it. But oh, look, we have a surprise guest, someone joining us virtually. It's my cat, Pearl. She did log on. She liked that joke, apparently. So, thank you, Pearl, for always being there for me and showing up to these presentations. Okay, but joking aside, all of these partnerships and positive outcomes take a lot of work to achieve. And I'd really like to extend my sincere gratitude to my colleagues Mitch Permel and Andrea Rodricks, the brains behind the operation here. They are the ones that make these relationships and outcomes possible, so I'm very grateful for them. And of course, a big thank you to all the volunteer law professionals who couldn't be here with us tonight, and my immensely talented colleagues at ALDF. I'm always in awe of the good work that you all do and your talents. And our wonderful board and dedicated donors, our cutting edge work to make this world a better place for animals simply would not be possible without all of your contributions. So a big thank you and congratulations again to all of our 2025 Pro Bono Award winners. Now I'd like to welcome back to the stage the talented Megan Senatori. Thank you.
My talents do not include jokes. That is Tom's gift. So I am honored to present the inaugural Animal Law Conference Animals in Focus Media Award to Kenny Torella for his outstanding journalism spotlighting animal welfare and agriculture issues. Kenny is currently a senior reporter for Vox's Future Perfect section, where he explores how the meat and dairy industries shape our politics, culture, and environment. Along with Marina Bolotnikova, Kenny is a co-author of Vox's Processing Meat, and he also authored Vox's 5-part newsletter series, Meatless, a newsletter designed to help readers incorporate more plant-based food into their diets. Before Vox, Kenny held positions at Mercy for Animals and Humane World for Animals, where he helped to pass farmed animal welfare ballot measures. Kenny has a strong track record of bringing issues in animal agriculture into the broader public view through his journalism. He's been public about supporting bans on cages for egg-laying hens and gestation crates for pigs. He's advocated to strike down ag-gag laws that limit or prohibit animal agriculture investigations that expose cruelty. He works tirelessly to promote plant-based eating and a more humane food system. Kenny has also written extensively about the need for a food system that is not only significantly less reliant on animals, but also one that protects farm workers and mitigates the environmental impact of fertilizers and pesticides. Now, of course, we can't mention them all, but a few of Kenny's articles include The Terrifying Reality Behind One of America's Fastest Growing Dairy Brands, which is about the dark side of the milk company Fairlife and America's protein craze. Another, entitled How Germany is Kicking Its Meat Habit, discusses shifts towards plant-based diets and policy in Germany. And yet another, entitled This Overlooked Cause of PTSD is Only Going to Get Worse, explores the significant negative emotional experiences of workers in the meat industry. He also has a keen interest in animal law. In 2023, Kenny was an Animal Law Media Fellow at Vermont Law and Graduate School, participating in a survey course on the Animal Welfare Act and the Endangered Species Act. Through his sharp reporting, his deep compassion, and his unwavering commitment to animals, Kenny has brought attention to the hidden realities of animal agriculture and the urgent need for a more ethical food system. His work continues to inform, to challenge, and to inspire. And we are so proud to honor him today with the inaugural Animals in Focus Media Award. Kenny, if you can come up and join us. Thank you on behalf of all of us for using your voice to speak up for those who can't. So, congratulations on this well-deserved award. Oh, we have to, yes, I think we're going to do a photo. Is Chris coming up? Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. I'll set this.
You want me to take it for you?
I'll set this out real quick.
Okay, yes.
All right. Megan, thank you for the kind introduction, and thank you, ALDF, for this award. I am not as concise as the pro bono winners, so just bear with me for a couple minutes here. But this award means a lot to me because the field of animal law has been really instrumental in my work, which I kind of feel is a work of trying to make sense of these industries that I think we all feel often seem completely senseless. A lot of lawyers, some of whom are here tonight, have been really patient in walking me through the complex legal and regulatory regimes that determine the fate of these animals. But animal lawyers haven't just helped me make sense of these industries, but they've also shown me that another world is possible, that by developing and executing on novel legal strategies, we can make progress for animals. But beyond the power of animal law, I want to take a moment to step back and reflect on something that has been on my mind a lot lately. I think most of us think about animal suffering and pain and cruelty and neglect for 8 hours a day, at least. I think it's kind of a miracle that we all manage to have a good time at these things. So pat on the back for ourselves. But I say this just to elucidate that this is not easy work. At least in my experience, there's never really been an easy day at work. And that means it can sometimes be hard to find hope. But I do find hope in moments like this, in this weekend, in rooms like this one, where everyone here has decided to make the choice that when they saw animal suffering, they didn't look away, they didn't put it out of their mind, but they decided to do something about it, to kind of make this choice every single day and say, I'm going to do something about it. And I know that I personally find a lot of strength from making that choice every day and 20 years ago when I first got into these issues. And I hope that in these times when it feels like we're up against a lot of political and cultural headwinds, you can kind of tap into the strength in making that choice to not look away, but to run towards the suffering and try to confront it and stop it. Before I wrap up, though, I want to thank a couple people who are here tonight who have been really instrumental in my work. The first is Marina Bolotnikova. She's my editor, sitting over there. Yeah, let's give it up for Marina. If you haven't read her work, I think she is really one of the brightest minds writing and thinking about animals today, and I'm just so grateful for her mentorship and guidance. Secondly, I want to thank my partner, Amruza, who we should also give it up for, even if you don't know her. She has provided just an endless amount of intellectual and emotional support throughout my career. And her clear moral compass has just been really indispensable in my writing and thinking process. And finally, well, they're not here, but I want to thank our dog Evie and our late dog Rihanna. Bear with me. I think to me, like I think about this every day when I look into their eyes, that there are these daily reminders for me that the animals who we all think and talk about, whether they're dogs or whether they're cows or chickens or pigs or mice, whether they're in factory farms or zoos or puppy mills, being with Evie and being with Rihanna, with our companion animals, they remind me that all these animals who are caught up in these systems of cruelty, just like Evie and just like Rihanna, are thinking, feeling individuals, not just resources to exploit, not just statistics or numbers on a page, and that they deserve freedom and love. Thank you all for kind of taking that spirit into your work every day. And I really appreciate this award and being here this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kenny. That was so beautifully said. One of the many joys of working at the Center for Animal Law Studies is getting to work with our next presenter. And she needs no introduction. The mother of animal law, Joyce Tischler, will now present the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Good evening. I can't see you all, but I'd really love to if I could. Tonight we're presenting our Lifetime Achievement Award to Professor David Favre, who has not only shaped the field of animal law, but helped build it from the ground up. David and I met in November of 1981 at the very first Animal Rights Law Conference in New York City. There were 60 people at that conference. 30 of them were law students or lawyers. My, how far we've come. He was just what ALDF needed for our newly forming National Board of Directors. He agreed, thankfully, to be on the board. He served as the treasurer of ALDF for many years, probably because he was the only one of us who could count without using his fingers. And he was the chair of the board from 2003 to 2006. During the 24 years that he was on our board, David's leadership and vision helped to guide ALDF, and his scholarly work has inspired countless animal law attorneys, advocates, law students, and others. David is well known as the creator and editor-in-chief of the Animal Legal and Historical Web Center. It has been in existence since 2003, and it gets around 9,000 visitors every day. It is the most highly respected international resource on animal law. David has shaped the direction of animal law as well as animal rights through the publication of 37 law review articles on a broad spectrum of topics: wildlife, industrial animal agriculture, research, companion animals, cruelty, the list goes on. And he's delivered hundreds of talks and presentations all over the globe. In the mid-1980s, Shirley McGreal, who founded the International Primate Protection League, came to us and said, "You know, the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, CITES, really would benefit from some lawyers showing up." And so we started sending David. He attended and served as a delegate to the CITES conferences from 1987 to 2000. Early on, he noticed that CITES had passed a number of resolutions, but no one had cataloged them. So in other words, CITES didn't know what they had decided. So in 1989, David published the first compilation of those resolutions in a book. In 2004, he organized the very first global conference on animal law and welfare, which included speakers from 8 countries. And that's a common occurrence now, but it was David who started it. He also spearheaded the drafting of an international treaty that would set minimum standards for animal welfare, the Convention for the Protection of Animals. Started that in 1986, and it's still going on now. You know, a lot of scholars like to tell you what you should think, but David has always taken something of a different approach, more inclusive perhaps. In his writings and presentations, he'll in effect say, "I have this idea, I've been thinking about it a lot, what do you think about this?" So I'll give you an example. Property, as David tells us, is composed of a legal interest and an equitable interest, and animals are living property. So let's say you own a dog as living property, and perhaps you could divide the legal and the equitable components of that property and then give the equitable title to the dog herself. Wow. Could this create a limited form of self-ownership? An equitably self-owned dog? What do you think? Could that enhance the legal status of animals? Here's another example. Consider that common law judges have recognized new torts on many occasions. So what if we created a new tort? We'd call it intentional interference with a fundamental interest of an animal. How would that help us elevate the status of non-human animals? Both of these are beautiful ideas, and David's had those and many others, and they've been codified in his writings, in his law review articles for those two. If you haven't read them, I suggest you do. As a scholar, teacher, mentor, and visionary, David Favre has spent almost 5 decades dedicating his intellect and his passion to the idea that non-human animals deserve consideration, protection, and rights under the law. The steady evolution of his ideas over the course of a lifetime have been an extraordinary gift to the animals as well as to the animal law movement. So with deep gratitude and admiration, I wish to present the Animal Law Conference Lifetime Achievement Award to my colleague and friend, Professor David Favre. Please join me.
Step this way. Let's get a photo. Let me take that from you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll take that. And you're on. I hope I didn't grab your speech.
Thank you. Thank you, Joyce, personally, who half of my life's existence wouldn't have wouldn't have occurred if Joyce hadn't decided to become an unpaid executive director of Attorneys for Animal Rights. And we started with that little snowball. On a slightly more personal basis, I want to thank my wife of 54 years as we've gone through this, Marty Favre. About 2 weeks ago, a student surprised me. It doesn't happen a whole lot now. I had made a presentation on living property, what it was and how I thought about it. And she said, "Why did you do this?" But it did make me think for a second. How do I talk about what I am doing? And what I have been doing for my life is to try to create a large, comprehensive set of jurisprudence for animals. And my audience is not the general public, it's judges and people like you in the legal system. We don't talk about animal jurisprudence in the public press very often, but is there a way that we can think about animals and place them in the jurisprudence of the common law and the developing system? And that's pretty much what all of my things, all my little pieces might go together. I have one more writing project as I sail off, and that is that I want to address what I think is the last big issue, and that is animals in state constitutions in the United States. It's not been written upon yet, and I think we got to give some really serious thought to that. What does that mean in the world of jurisprudence, in the world of constitutional law? How do we think about that? Not federal. We don't talk about federal. Animals are property. They're state-focused activities, and we need to stay focused in that area. I have a few thoughts I want to leave with you. One is I had recent in my mind is the last 2 or 3 years, had a conversation with Paul Locke, and he said he described himself in a way that I'm also using, and that is that I'm a passionate, incrementalist, a passionate incrementalist. Progress comes through incremental change. Steve Wise and I we were good friends for his entire life since I met him with Joyce, and he was more of the let's blow up the system and give animals all their rights, and that was all well and good, but I didn't think it would actually ever happen that way. And I now feel very firm at this point in my analysis that animals can receive rights, should receive rights, but it happens just step by step. Because you can't go to the legislator and say, we're going to create rights for animals. That's a door closer, okay? It's not politically feasible. The other thing I would suggest to you is that the entrance animal is not the chimpanzee. The entrance animal is the dog. The dog has political status that a chimpanzee will never have, because so many people in the United States have dogs and have that emotional contact with dogs that you can talk to almost anybody. It's one of the few things you can talk to Republicans and Democrats about. Just keep everything else out of the way and talk about your dog. And you can immediately get some very good conversations going. I've got 2 bills I've been working on with other people in the state of Michigan, and they're just sort of quietly going through the process. We don't want to blow it up, no press, no need to do that. And we have both Republican and Democrat sponsors for those bills. Also, there's a word that's used a lot in animal thinking about, and that's liberty. And I've always thought that was a funny word to talk about animals with. And instead, I'd like you to think about something I haven't heard, and that's contentment. are the animals content? Can we give them a life that allows the animals to be content with who they are and where they are? And I think it's a different kind of thing that would focus more on well-being, the fullness of the animal, wherever that animal might be situated. The idea of liberty, I don't get it. You're not going to let the animals loose. That's not going to happen. Another thought for you. How about being audacious? Take that word back and chew it around a little and see what you think about it. Audacious. We have to be audacious because we have to change what the present is. And that means you got to do something that's not in the normal realm of acceptability or something else. And I think everybody in this room will find their way to try to be audacious. A small problem you need to deal with, generically, as you go through working for animal issues, is the tension between dealing with immediate crises and trying to plant the seeds for future change. Those are really two very different things, and this is something we dealt with within the Animal Legal Defense Fund as we were getting going, is do we become a law firm that keeps dealing, there's so many lawsuits to file. Well, now one way to do that is get 3,000 people to help you do that. But nevertheless, everybody has limited time and resources, and so how much do you spend on present problems and how much do you spend about thinking and acting in a way that's going to put the building blocks for incremental change into the future? The most difficult problem we're facing today is agricultural animals. We all know that. We're talking global organizations, billions of dollars of profit and income. And I don't have the answers to that. Some of the people in this room are going to have to work on that for the next decade or so. My one thing I do know is that Prop 12 in California is a crack in the door. And we need to make sure it stays that way and figure out how to open that crack a little bit more and get more states doing that same thing. And I think that starts to build a much more fruitful place to start talking about. Also, we need more professors. There's really a very limited number of us that are tenure-track professors at major institutions. And if we're going to develop the jurisprudence of animal law, we need more people in there. I'll tell you from my point of view, being a law professor is one of the best jobs in the world. But it's a different kind of job. And if you're not inclined to the scholarship and to the writing, then maybe not. But if you are and you're capable, please don't forget about professorships. Also, we will need a treaty. We will need an international treaty, particularly in agricultural animals, because they are global corporations. No one state, let alone country, is going to be able to stop agricultural system that now exists. And it's only through a treaty where you have global voices talking together that you're going to really, I think, get a handle on how to limit the way that those places work. One thing I've learned over time is, well, people have asked me, why do you keep doing this? And I suspect a number of you have had that same question to you. And I think one of the most powerful things that we human beings have is the capacity for hope. Hope is extraordinarily strong as a motivator for action. And I think that I keep going because I still have hope. There's a number of things in this world I don't have hope about at this point, but progress for animals and the potential idea of acknowledging animals within the legal system, I do still have hope for. In honor of that human characteristic, I have a little poem I wrote. It's in my book that I wrote, Respecting Animals, but I think it's an interesting thing to do here. Hope is a force. Hope is a focus. Hope is change. What do you hope? I hope for us. I hope for you. I hope the wave of life rolls on strong, vibrant, alive, full of hope. I have a few copies of that if anybody's interested. Thank you all so much.
So it was 25 years ago this year that I first took an animal law course with Steve Wise, who you've heard referenced many times tonight. I then met Paul Waldau and Sarah Lewick around his kitchen table and started writing some on animal valuation. And so in 2003, a couple years later, I attended my first animal law conference, and I was told, you've got to talk to David Favre. He's really put a lot of thought into animal valuation. And so we get connected, and I'm just some kid. He doesn't know me from Adam, and he spends a couple hours in the hotel bar over a couple beers and just listens to my ideas and gives me pointers on where I'm going right and where I'm going wrong. And it was like just so meaningful being this kid who was interested in this field and hadn't really met that many people other than just a narrow band in Massachusetts. And then coming to my first animal law conference, just meeting all these amazing advocates. It was super meaningful. So thank you, David, for everything you've done for this field over the years.